Well, hello, friend. I got my coffee and I've got all my tools and supplies and I'm ready to show you how to make these wonderful sort of geometric inspired earrings that you are going to have fun making. Let me show you everything you're going to need and let's have some fun together today. For the wire today, we're just using basic 20 gauge wire for the ear wires and the whole form of the earring. It's going to keep it very simple. Dead soft is what I'm working with, and I'm using just about all my tools. As you can see, we've got your cutters, your round nose, nylon. Definitely keep those handy in every project that you work on. Bail pliers, some tweezer nose, chain nose pliers, maybe some other chain nose pliers, maybe, and definitely nylon hammer. And a special feature tool would be these large wrap and tap pliers. In place of this, you could use a ring mandrel, but today I'm using this. For this earring today, I kept it pretty simple. You're going to use 7 centimeters for this center core part, also 7 centimeters for both of these outer loops, 2 inches for the ear wire and the wire wrapped bead at the bottom. So very simple to remember, hopefully. Do you feel like as you get older, you can't remember anything? Oh my goodness. So I try to keep it simple so we don't have to remember a whole bunch. Something that I always remember to do is take my nylon pliers and run over the wire while it's still on the spool before I cut it. Keeps it nice and simple. So what I'll do is cut all the wire that we're going to need to make a pair of earrings and be right back. So I've got my cut pieces of wire and we are ready to get going. Looking at our original here, we are going to mimic this little head pin at the end. Just taking the very end, bending it back, and simply clamping it in. Just a nice, and go slow so you don't buckle it in on itself. For my bead, I'm using these 6 millimeter rondelles. Could you go bigger? I don't know. I think 6 millimeter just fits this design with the other measurements to make this loop perfectly. So I would probably stick at 6 millimeter rondelles. If you do round beads, I might go down to 4 millimeters on the bead. I don't know, you could try 6 millimeter round beads. But either way, okay, so we're working on this center point. Got that ready. So now we can start building on that. Take your next measure of 20 gauge wire that is 7 centimeters, and this is where the wrap and tap comes in. You have the option of a ring mandrel if you have that. I prefer this because it offers me more control. Feels good in the hand and I like working with it. We're going to take our piece of wire and we're going to be using this largest bail, which measures 19 millimeters on my pliers. And we're just going to make a circle, pressing it on around. And once you get to this point, you can't press it anymore. Just turn it, and then you can keep pressing to make this circle. Now, this is the point where you really want to take advantage of being able to take your nylon hammer and hammer that joker out. Make it, firm it up, strengthen it up as much as you can. You can do even more than that. I'm just going to stick with that for time purposes. When we used this larger bail, what it did was created this larger belly of this loop out here. And what we're going to do now is put it on the smallest bail on these pliers to make the smaller inner form. Put it right on the end of your wire and it's so simple. Just press with your thumb until these ends kind of overlap a little bit. From here, now we have to put matching loops on the end. Take some round nose pliers and we're going to put two small loops right on the end of these wires. and they're going to be sitting on the same side of the loop. So see that one is facing towards this side of the loop? We're going to do the same thing. We want it to be on the same side because these little loops that we're making are going to be hidden on the back side of the earring. So if we put them on the same side, then they'll be hidden on the same back side of the earrings. Okay, now you see how they're not lined up. Easy fix. Back on these pliers, or the same spot that you used on your ring mandrel, and press with your thumb or your index finger until they sit over top of each other like that. And you've got one round form to start working with. So let's go over that one more time, since obviously we need 2 of these loops to make one earring. Just making that circle. Turn your wire if you need more room to press. Nylon hammer to strengthen. And now we're going to put those loops in. I want to match it up. I want to look to see what we have here so I can envision the end result here. I'm making this loop now. All right. Oh, I did it again. I forgot to do this little loop. Now, it just doesn't matter. Can you wait and do it now? That's fine. Or you can do it before, like I did before. Either way is going to get you the same result. And remember, we want our loops on the same side of this whole form. If you need a little room, can pull them out from each other a little bit, separated them a little bit. And we're going to put another little loop down here. They're not quite matching up, which they never will be. You will have to do this. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. Just put it back on there until they sit over top of each other. And now we have 2 little pretty much matching forms. Now, grab your beads. It's time to put it together. And I highly suggest that you make your forms, get everything ready before you start assembling your earring. It will go so much more smoothly. Oh my, okay. So we're going to take this form we made and we're going to slip our center core down through that bottom loop. Slide on a bead, one of these wonderful rondelles. Move everything to the top, just about everything, so we can get that top loop threaded on there. Get your next form, slide on that lower loop, then a bead, and then that top loop. And slide everything down. Now you see there's a lot of gaps. It's kind of bouncy. It wants to spring back open. That is totally fine. Not a problem, because this is where it all gets locked in right now. You are going to take your round nose pliers, but for me, I prefer my bail pliers. This is where we're going to put in this wrap up here to lock it all in. You'll be surprised. I'm going to place it so that the second bail, which is 3 millimeters, is closest to me. You can either press it down until it's all locked in, or what I also find very helpful is taking another pair of chain nose pliers and kind of slacking up on the bail pliers so it pulls down all the way. Now that we've got everything locked in like this is where our top loop is coming in, where we can connect our ear wire. I just bent it back to myself over this 3 millimeter bail. We're going to turn our pliers just so it starts to go around that corner. Give yourself enough of that corner. How do I explain that? Get it around that corner enough, because the more you do go this way, the more of a nice neck you're going to have on that loop. So don't keep it over here. we want to move it around that corner a little bit. That's going to give us a nice neck on our loop. Make sure this is straight before you press it around. And we're going to just press it over the first bail or the other part of your round nose pliers. See, it has a nice neck right in there to hold in our wraps. Now you notice that it came undone, right? It bounced back. You're like, Carrie, this didn't do anything. It's okay. It's still there. When we start putting these wraps in, it's going to remember that we just mushed it all down, and it will lock back into place. Don't worry, I promise. Take your chain nose pliers and lock in that loop. Now I have some moisturizer in my hand. Usually I can do this by hand, but I'm going to need some other pliers because my hands are too slippery. I'm just not going to do it anymore. You're going to have to deal with my hangnails and my dry skin. Because I can't have this slipping, the wire slipping. And I'm putting some nice, even wraps in here. Really taking my time. And they're going to slide right into this gap that we made. There is one, you can't hardly see it, but there is space for one more wrap to really lock this form in. And I've got it around to the back, so now I can trim. When I used that 3mm bail, it allowed me to put, how many wraps is that? Not including the loop, 3 more wraps in there to lock that in. Now, you might not have as many, and that's okay, depending on if you use round nose pliers or you used just something different to do your top loop here. So don't be worried if you don't have the same amount. Just straightening up the top here. Okay. Wow, that was so fast. I've done so many of these that I don't realize how fast it's taking me. As you can see, I have a bunch here. All right, to get us going, making this wonderful little wire wrapped bead, we're going to do the same thing we did right here. Just taking some chain nose pliers right on the end of this wire and doing a simple bend back. I'm pressing into my middle finger. We've got this little hook on the end. Very carefully, very slowly. Pinching that in. There we go. And we slide on a bead. Love these 6mm spinel rondelles. Ooh, so sparkly, so pretty. Round nose are an option, but I'm still using my bail pliers. As I think you've already figured out, I always do. Bending it back over the 3mm bail, which is the second bail on my pliers. Turning the pliers so that the 3mm or the 2mm is sitting in this corner, just about there. Make sure this is nice and straight before you start bending. You don't want it cocked out to the different. You'll get a really messed up loop if you do that. And we're bending over that 2mm bail. It's 2mm on my pliers, and I'm turning my pliers. Now we have a nice straight line. And we're going to take this tail, kind of make a little scarf here. I heard that analogy once somewhere. And I'm like, that is so perfect. Now, before you start making wraps, we need to lift up this loop a little bit and attach the earring. If you start making those wraps before you've attached your earring, then you'll have to start all over again, and that is not going to be fun. I'm going to use some other chain nose pliers just to help me out here because I put on too much hand moisturizer. But maybe it hurts your hands to grab the wire. Use pliers. That's what they're there for. It's totally your preference, whatever works best for you. I think I got it wrapped in there. Which is my front. This is my front. I need to wrap it around just a little bit more to the back, and then I can lock it in. Clip off the excess. Take your chain nose pliers. Really get that last little bit in there nice and tight. Perfect. I want to straighten up this loop just a little bit. Okay, so one little ditty before we do the ear wire. I want to show you how really these earrings are designed to echo each other, to mirror each other. See how these are, on this side goes clockwise, here goes counterclockwise. You can make them go the same way, or you have the option of making them mirror each other. So don't get worried if you make them, you're like, oh no, they're all going the same way, but you know, no one's going to be able to tell from one ear to the next. But if you definitely want, hey, I've got a right, I've got a left, or whatever, make your loops go clockwise and counterclockwise to mirror each other. Let's finish up. A tutorial will not be complete for earrings without ear wires. Grab your round nose pliers or your bail pliers. Starting with 2 millimeters, my first bail, right on the end, making a nice small loop, nice and tight, right on the end. Turn your pliers and your wire so it looks like this. I've got it pulled in there as much as it will go, and we're going to press with our thumb near the bail just so it touches that first little loop, and we can take the second bail and put just the cutest little bend on the end. Don't forget to sand your end there. I'm going to straighten this out just a little bit. Bend your loop out to the side. Grab your earring, make sure you got the front, and slide it on. And close the loop. You've got a great looking pair of earrings here. Come on, this is so cute. Can be fancy or casual with a pair of jeans. I love these blue, dark blue spinels with jeans. Also love blue labradorite with jeans. And the copper and the blue, such wonderful contrast. Very, very lovely. Well, I hope you had fun making these. And if you have any questions, any problems, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I'll definitely get back to you. All my tools and supplies are linked down below, links to my website, my social media. I would love to connect with you in those ways as well. Always. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Who knows what we're going to get into? Maybe it'll be chain link. Maybe it'll be more earrings. You know one thing I'm planning, and let me know if this interests you or not. I'm looking into making wire-wrapped hairpins. They are so gorgeous, and sometimes I get tired of claw clips. You know, they hurt the back of my head. You can't put your head back on the seat when you're driving properly, and actually could be dangerous. So I'm looking for wonderful new designs for hairpins that I'm looking forward to showing you. So let me know if you're interested in that. And as always, we're going to have fun next week for Tutorial Tuesday.